G'day mate, 40 here. Let me know if there's too much wind. I'm still at Manly Beach. So, speaking hatefully is a bad thing, right? Being unnecessarily hateful, saying, all these bad things should happen to a particular group, that's bad. Harassing people, going to their workplace or their house of worship or their community, that's a bad thing. But these terms have been so grossly inflated to simply cover any type of speech that I don't like. So on Twitter, effectively over the past 6 years or so, harassment simply meant disagreeing with a woman. Like if you disagree with a woman on Twitter, if you puncture her logic in any way, you're harassing her. So Alex Jones was banned from social media. All the social media companies effectively acted in uniform back in 2018. I was ambivalent because Alex Jones has said so many just wrong, harmful things, leading to the harassment of the Sandy Hook parents. So I was ambivalent. I'm almost a free speech absolutist, but I was ambivalent when big tech banned Alex Jones. It didn't particularly bother me. I understand why people would not want him on their platform. On the other hand, I have no problem understanding why conservatives would want Alex Jones unbanned, because Alex Jones is right-wing. He does support Republicans on the right wing against the left. So he is, to a degree, a comrade in arms, just that he appeals to a lower IQ audience. And I was thinking about what do Alex Jones, Richard Spencer, and Ford have in common. And one thing that we all have in common is that we all want the world to be a more exciting place than it is. And so we're all romantic, right? We all read more into reality than is really there. So Alex Jones speaks to a 95 IQ audience. And Richard Spencer speaks to an audience with an average IQ around 115. I think my audience has an average IQ around 115. So the type of excitement that the 115 IQ person seeks out is very different from the type of excitement that the 95 IQ person seeks out. But Alex Jones is on the right? So he is furthering Republicans. He is fighting the left. I don't care for Alex Jones. I think he does a tremendous amount of harm. But I have to recognize that he is a fellow fighter on the right, so I understand why conservatives would want to see him unbanned. And Coulter says, Donald Trump, first thing you need to do is not unban Elon Musk. First thing you need to do is not so much unban Donald Trump, but the first thing you need to do is to unban.
About why conservatives love Alex Jones so much. It wasn't so much about why Alex Jones should be banned from Twitter.
Well, it's easy to understand why conservatives love Alex Jones, because he's appealing to a low IQ crowd like Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the pro-whisperer. Like Donald Trump is excellent at speaking to the 95 IQ audience. And so too with Alex Jones. He's speaking to an audience that wants excitement and purpose and meaning in life. They want to feel like they're living from the inside, that they're getting the real deal. They're finally, understanding how the world works around them. And because they only have an IQ of around 95, right, their intellectual possibilities are quite limited. If they weren't listening to Alex Jones, they would not be reading Shakespeare.
Although I do think the case of Alex Jones brings up a very interesting question in terms of the free speech issue. That is, do you really want to tolerate someone who is absolutely polluting the discourse?
Okay, I agree with that, but what do you expect from someone who's speaking to the 90-95 IQ crowd?
And what I mean by that is that he's not only wrong. Obviously, many people are wrong. Most academic articles and the sciences are actually kind of wrong, more or less. But he's acting in a kind of bad faith. I think Alex Jones might very well believe what he's saying. I think he does, actually. But
it doesn't matter whether or not Alex Jones believes in what he's saying. Sincerity is not a virtue, right? Sincerity is not something we need more of.
He is just a completely deluded personality. And because he has this charisma, he is able to gain a tremendous following, and he's able to grift off this following in just an...
It's not his charisma, it's the sense of excitement that he brings, right? He gives dumb people a way of understanding the world that is tremendously exciting.
It's an incredible way. So he really has monetized.
It's similar to what Richard Spencer has done. He's given deluded people an excited way of understanding the world, and it's what Richard Spencer's still doing, right, with Apolloism. Right? It's a romantic, exciting way of understanding the world and feeling like you're living from the inside, and this is the real deal. And now you're connected to the universe and you're aligned with your true self. Right? It's one romantic crusade after another for Richard, and one romantic crusade after another for Alex Jones. Just that one person speaking to a crowd with an average IQ around 115 to 120, and another bloke is speaking to a crowd with an average IQ around 90.
His own delusion. And I do think that kind of figure is deeply toxic. You have to have some...
Yeah, Alex Jones, is toxic, right? He's motivated people to do horrible things, such as harass the Sandy Hook parents who lost their children in that mass shooting at Sandy Hook. If people look to Alex Jones for more than entertainment value and start, taking some of his more deluded perspective seriously and start harassing people on that basis, yeah, it's toxic. But same thing could be said for many of the followers of Richard Spencer and taking many of the things that Richard has said seriously. Okay, so it's not just the message, it's how it plays out with a particular audience. So, how many hundreds of people's lives have been damaged because of Richard Spencer? How many hundreds of people's lives have been damaged by Alex Jones? Again, the people that both of them have damaged are people who've been seeking, illicit forms of excitement.
Basis in reality to speak and to actually contribute to discourse. There really is no value in listening to a schizophrenic tell you about how, space aliens are telling her that her, aunt wants to kill her, and it's a really big problem, and that's why.
So there's been some reasonably thoughtful stuff on Alex Jones. Richard Spencer was a willing guest on Alex Jones. He was a willing guest on Russia Today. Right? Richard said at the time he went on Alex Jones because he's an American institution. So if you look at Richard Spencer and Alex Jones as entertainment, then they're not going to have a toxic effect on you. All right? Richard Spencer's intellectual entertainment. Alex Jones is conspiratorial entertainment. If you look to them for more than entertainment, you're going to go wrong. But if you put them in their proper genre of entertainers, provocateurs, shock jocks, right, put people in their proper genre, they're much less likely to hurt you.
That's why she's locked herself in her room for 48 hours. There's really no value in that. And
okay, the only people who are going to lock themselves in their room for 48 hours after listening to Alex Jones are people who are already mentally ill.
I don't know. Saying I'm pro free speech or something, that's what everyone says. And when everyone says something, that means that it is ultimately a meaningless platitude. There actually is such a thing as bad speech. And there is such a thing that is just so toxic and stupid, but which seems to be able to kind of call upon, base emotions or maybe even incipient schizophrenia among the audience.
Okay, and you could say the same thing for much of Richard Spencer's work. When he was going around saying, "Hail our people, hail freedom, Sieg Heil," and his followers were greeting him with Nazi salutes. All right, this is the same kind of manic, deluded, schizophrenic energy that Alex Jones appeals to.
Yes, and I think it actually is extremely bad. And at the very least, we should talk about it seriously and not just kind of grandstand about our love for free speech. But anyway, what?
Yeah, I give Richard credit here. This is something that to be spoken about seriously, and much of what Alex Jones puts out is toxic, is bad for people, does lead people in a bad direction. Though the very same thing could be said for much of what Richard Spencer has promoted, his compadres have promoted, right? A lot of lives have been ruined by people pushing edgy, dissident right, neo-Nazi material.
What motivated me to write this little blog? Let me post it here. How do you post things? My main issue really isn't so much of, is Alex Jones acting in bad faith? Is Alex Jones polluting the public square? But why conservatives love Alex Alex Jones?
Okay, it's easy for the conservative Alex Jones because he's on their side, right? They're all right wing, and they see the left as an enemy. Oh man! Now they, Twitter, why are you doing this to me, bro? I'm trying to run quality production here, and Twitter keeps messing with me.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
Yelling at people. And so one of the excuses made for Alex Jones is basically he knows not what he does. He's just this innocent, goofy, good-natured guy who's worried about losing his country, and he's attacking Democrats. And
okay, yeah, Richard's right. That's a stupid excuse.
He claims that they're literally vampires, but we all get it wrong sometimes. But he's headed in the right direction, and he's innocent in the sense of being naive. He knows not what he's doing. I think on another level, Alex Jones represents a really serious problem with conservatism, in the sense that everything is an emergency for them.
Look, Alex Jones is just a really dumb, low IQ version of conservatism. I'm sure there are lots of dumb, low IQ versions of left-wing thought as well.
The election is the most important election of your lifetime, and what it is, it's about saying no to something. They are naysayers.
No, what it is about creating meaning and excitement for people, particularly people with not terribly many options and without much cognitive capacity.
It's about loudly yelling no at the latest novelty. It's wearing masks or drag queen story hour or CRT or whatever. And I also...
Yeah, a hero system is a biological necessity. There's some way of attaching yourself to something greater than yourself. Absolute biological necessity. We all fear being insignificant, and so we're looking to attach ourselves to a cause, to something that transcends us, something that's going to outlive us. We want to attach ourselves to something that goes back in time and will outlive us. And by attaching ourselves to something like that, then we can overcome our own fear of insignificance.
It's all of those things, but they're a type of person who's kind of overwhelmed by the world. They're overwhelmed by progressives who are kind of...
Well, what type of people were attracted to Richard Spencer back in the day? Similarly, people who are overwhelmed by the world, looking for meaning and excitement, looking for thrills, looking to take on some kind of heroic quest. These are the same people who are interested in Richard Spencer's version of Apolloism.
Pushing forward. And so they're playing whack-a-mole, or it's just this endless rearguard action that we got to yell no at something new this time. And when you're in that situation of being overwhelmed, there's no time and there's no ability to actually put forth a vision of the world. And as I wrote, in that sense, the conservative intellectual really becomes an oxymoron. You can't think about these things too deeply or too clearly or with too much nuance, because after all, it's an emergency.
Look, a conservative intellectual is not a conservative activist. Activists are not intellectuals. So Richard's making genre errors here. People who are intellectuals are not activists. People who are activists are not intellectuals. Activists have rational incentives for enlisting Alex Jones to their cause or finding common ground with Alex Jones. Conservative intellectuals are not forming common ground with Alex Jones.
I don't want to hear about your analysis of the situation. I don't want to hear about your nuance. I don't want to hear about your self-criticism. They're out to get your kids. So they are kind of schizophrenic on some level, and I think that's maybe another reason why Alex Jones appeals to them.
No, different parts of the conservative movement are not schizophrenic. They're just different genres, different parts. Activists are not intellectuals. Intellectuals are not activists. Right? Conservative intellectuals are not making common ground with Alex Jones. And Coulter is a pundit. She's not an intellectual. Ben Shapiro is a pundit. He's not an intellectual.
But I do think that kind of, what did Buckley write in the initial pages of National Review to stand before history yelling stop? That might very well be best maxim of the conservative. That is what he is constantly doing. And Alex Jones is doing that for them. And he's kind of representing their inner id in the sense that he's not doing it with any pretense of respectability. He's just ripping his shirt off and loudly yelling at people. And so he kind of represents the inner id. He is who, Ann Coulter or conservatives would be if they had his energy and charisma and they had abandoned all pretense of respectability. So anyway, there it is. There's my argument. If you guys want to hop in, you're welcome. We already have one request here.
So another reason that many conservatives want to form some common ground with Alex Jones is they want to get on his show. They want to be promoted by his media ecosystem. Alex Jones has promoted some true things, some good things, some accurate things, some prescient things, that Matt Drudge used to link to him a lot back in the day. So Alex Jones hasn't just done bad, hasn't just deteriorated the public discourse, hasn't just been a buffoon or an idiot or encouraged mental illness. He's also done a lot of good things. People are complicated.
Reginald Moritz Risen. All right, move forward.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
I'm doing well myself. So personally, I fully agree with you. I think Alex Jones truly has no place anymore in the conservative movement. Frankly, I think there was a case to be made, perhaps when he was a younger man and he was doing things like predicting 9/11 and whatnot. Well, maybe
he's predicting 9/11.
I won't say he predicted it. I will say there's a video of him, saying things which eventually came to pass. However, you're right.
See, that's ultimately bullshit because, if you're one of these guys who endlessly predicts that the stock market's going to crash or endlessly predicts that the New York Yankees are going to lose a baseball game, you're going to be right at some point. And you can kind of come back with that and say, "Oh, Alex Jones was right." And I just find that
I've only seen one clip of him predict. Perhaps he was saying it for years, and if that's the case, then I would agree with you. But nowadays, he talks about how he's going to eat his neighbor's ass and all these other crazy stuff. I think there's a term in French called dédiabolisation or something to that effect, and it was used to describe what was then the Front National, now is the National Rally, where this party that was initially composed of neo-Nazis, skinheads, Holocaust deniers, all these types of characters came to prominence, and then the party kind of cleaned itself up. Now, I think the Republican Party has a much stronger history. We're not tied to these kind of lunatics that the Front National was, but at the same time, I think there are elements of our party which, perhaps they were helpful in previous years, but at this point in time, it's ridiculous to keep them. These clowns such as Alex Jones.
What do you mean keep them or not keep them? The Republican Party doesn't have this enormous top-down power. Right? No one can exile Alex Jones. He's his own character. He's a self-supporting organization. Right? He's been banned from all the major social media, and he's still going. So it's kind of pointless to talk about the conservative movement or the Republican Party, exiling Alex Jones. They don't have that power.
I guess you could include Ann Coulter. I'd say Nick Fuentes as well.
Donald Trump. I understand your argument.
What?
I understand your argument, and let me respond, and then I will move on to something else. First off, the National Front, at least in my estimation, never played upon just outright schizophrenia. So I'm not really making the case of, you're a little rough around the edges. There's something almost fun about Alex Jones when he's just kind of talking about wild conspiracy theories of the moon landing. He's a little slice of Americana, I guess you could say, to be perhaps overly fair. But he does represent still the conservative id brain, and I don't.
No, he doesn't represent the conservative id brain. He represents a manifestation of a 90 IQ conservative id brain. Right? 120, 130 IQ conservatives are not resonating with Alex Jones.
50% of conservatives, particularly those who are motivated to vote, are highly in line with Alex Jones. And I don't know if conservatism can really go anywhere without that element to it. Okay, so Ian S. Octu.
Hey, Richard. Thanks for the
Honestly, I think whenever I hear you speak, it's like my IQ is increasing on the spot, actually. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I kind of wanted to ask, maybe I'm looking too much into this, but do you think people like Alex Jones, because I largely agree with your analysis, do you think that there's a possibility that they are some sort of controlled opposition?
Man, all this talk about controlled opposition just gets boring, right? Alex Jones is so unhinged, right? He'd be the last person who'd be employed as controlled opposition.
Certainly that possibility. And also, however something began, it can end up someplace else. And so I think you could definitely make the case that Alex Jones, when he began, he was this entertaining, wild Texas radio guy. And there was nothing really suspicious about it, but I guess you kind of could go there at some point. And whenever you have a cash cow, like InfoWars became, what was revealed in these depositions and trials, this thing is pumping out hundreds of thousands of dollars a day or something. It's just incredible. Once you have something that lucrative, then, the rat.
Yeah, if you meet 95 IQ, 100 IQ Americans' need for excitement and feeling like they understand what is really going on or what's really running the world, right? There is an enormous audience for that. There are a lot more people out there with a 95 IQ than with 145 IQ. So he's meeting a need for meaning and excitement that used to be met by religion, right? If people weren't into Alex Jones, they'd very likely be in some low IQ form of religion, Assembly of God or something like that.
Come on, that's a reverse metaphor. Like people are going to want to get a piece of that pie. There's an interesting video of Alex Jones where I think he's talking about David Icke. And David Icke is very famous. I think he used to be an athlete, and then he was a sports announcer, like a soccer or football, I guess, over in the UK announcer. And then he just kind of went off the deep end. And Alex Jones was saying that, he's a turd in the punch bowl. So basically, we're talking about the New World Order, and then this guy talks about, they're actually shape-shifting lizards, and so you can just immediately dismiss it. He's like, he was basically suggesting that he was a kind of false opposition in that case. I think it. And then, obviously that same criticism could be applied to Alex Jones. So I think it's possible. Without evidence, I wouldn't want to make that suggestion. But I think I would, at least the way I would talk about it is in a slightly different position. And it's not so much that you want to demonize or, slander the other side. Like, let's get the most ridiculous person possible so that the other side looks bad and we win. I think the notion of the caducean, which is something that Mark Rahman has talked about, I talked about it as well. It's not so much about like controlling the other side of discourse and making them look like complete ridiculous fools who should just be dismissed out of hand. It's about kind of creating a synthetic opposition. And so if you're right wing, you like Alex Jones, that means you want to slam.
But doesn't everyone create a synthetic opposition? Doesn't everyone use straw man? Isn't that just a human lazy way of dealing with your opponents in life, is to describe them in ridiculous, unfair, dishonest terms? I don't think that's something that's unique to Alex Jones.
Constitution and talk about the Bible, and you're a libertarian, and all that kind of stuff. That's what it means to be right-wing. And so I think it's that creation of a synthetic opposition. So it's like the difference of, are you a capitalist or are you a communist? Are you a Jew?
So, and part of it is that Alex Jones listeners just have a more medieval worldview, right? They see the devil, they see God, they see the sacred and the profane and the holy and the unholy. They're doing battle all around them. And so it's not just a different belief system, it's a different way of experiencing life, it's a different sense of self. So as opposed to the modern liberal notion of a self that is buffered, strategic, autonomous, basically good, capable of rationality, right? The more medieval notion of self is that the human being is naturally predisposed towards evil, is porous, is vulnerable to being negatively affected by evil forces around it. There are sacred spaces and dangerous places. There are holy men and unholy men, and that we're all, vulnerable to the forces of darkness and evil. Right? Alex Jones, embodies this more medieval perspective on life. All conservatives are more medieval than modern liberals.
Or you were Christian. All of those binaries, that's not the whole story. by no means even close to representing the spectrum of opinion. And yet you create these binaries where people are like, oh yeah, I'm on Alex Jones' side. And I think Anthony Fauci is trying to kill everyone. And, there's all these kind of lunatic opinions, but also opinions that are just kind of useless and stupid and can't really go anywhere. So I think in some ways he's part of that Caducean, but I would say the entire American right is part of that kind of Caducean opposition, where it's about synthetically creating the binary. And
it's creating straw men, and it's creating a sense of excitement and meaning, and a sense that you have the real stuff. You have access to what's going on with the inner party, the people who really run things. All right. I think it's about that excitement and a delusional sense that you're on the inside and that you understand what's really going on in the world. Bye-bye.